And welcome back. I'm here with Dr. Vesna. Hi Vesna.
Hi Julie.
Now you're a behaviour and relationship expert, and obviously relationships are one of those things that everybody wants to know more about.
Definitely.
So what is the key to a great relationship?
The starting point is having a great relationship with ourselves, and then we can have a better relationships with other people.
Absolutely. So often I guess people are their own worst critics, aren't they?
They can be.
There's a lot of people who look in the mirror and think, oh, I've got this problem, I need this fixed and that fixed. So I guess that's what you're talking about. That self-critic is really important to make sure you dampen that.
Absolutely. Insecurities are really important to address because they're the ones that will sabotage confidence each and every time.
So how do people do that?
Sabotage confidence or stop the critic?
Stop the critic.
Stop the critic. The way we do that, first of all, we need to understand how we're doing it. We are very creative as human beings. Through my research, I've discovered there's over 35 different ways that people sabotage themselves.
35?
35, just a few.
That's right.
So we need to first of all identify exactly how we're doing it. And each person is different.
Of course.
Yes, so we need to identify exactly what it is, and not just on the surface, we need to look at what are the deeper subconscious patterns that are causing the sabotage.
And could that be things like people's past, their childhood, that kind of thing?
It could definitely be that. Yeah, it could go that far back, or it could be more recent relationships where they're still holding on to the baggage, so to speak, and it's affecting their current relationship. It's
obviously difficult to deal with insecurities sometimes. Have you got any examples of how you've managed to help people with this?
Lots of examples. So I'll talk about one example which is fairly common, if you like. It's people who are single or even in a relationship and they fear being alone. So they tend to get into any relationship just so they're not alone.
Yes.
Or if they are in a relationship, they will sabotage it because they fear being alone. They push the person away and end up being alone. The fear becomes self-fulfilling.
Absolutely. I guess that's a big one.
It is a big one. It is a big one. So it's very important to identify that that's what's going on and then work on a subconscious level to change that process. So transform the sabotage pattern into a more empowering dynamic between you and the other person.
So when people are in relationships, Vesna, there are buttons that people push because you're so close to someone, you know what that button is, don't you?
Often you can. Sometimes it's a subconscious button, you're not aware of it until it gets pushed. And then you overreact and you wonder, why did I overreact to something so small or something so insignificant?
Yes.
And so what's important about buttons is to realise that if we have no buttons, people can't push them. So the ideal situation is to be buttonless, as I call it, free of our buttons.
Button free.
Button free. So that if people go to push any buttons, we can be neutral and objective and react in proportion to the situation.
And I guess that's it, isn't it? It's the proportional response, because sometimes, you know, you might have had a bad day yourself and you're kind of tired and somebody says a little tiny comment and it just sends you off the deep end.
Yeah, so there's a difference between getting appropriately angry if something's, you know, said that's rude or inappropriate, and overreacting with a jealous rage.
Yeah.
You know, it's the magnitude.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I mean, you've written this fantastic book. It's called Stop Sabotaging Your Self-Confidence. There's lots of great exercises in here, by the way. So I guess this is a place where people could start to look at some of the things that might be sabotaging their relationships.
That's exactly why I wrote the book. So chapter 2 actually has a self-assessment quiz people can take themselves through to work out exactly how they're doing it, as in sabotage.
Yes.
And then the rest of the book helps them work through addressing those things.
And then what are some of the things that people can do to get more confidence?
Okay, so there's a whole range of different things they can do. There's lots of exercises in there. The first thing is to actually listen to their self-talk. I think self-talk is a big clue as to, you know, what are our self-doubts, what are our beliefs, what are those insecurities that we have. So, you know, listen to that voice inside your head. So, you know, when a partner does something we're not happy with, what's the internal dialogue that goes through our mind that causes us to be upset or overreact with anger or jealousy or whatever other way we overreact? And pay attention to that. That's the first step.
Absolutely. I always heard that it's good to sort of look in a mirror and work out what it is that you are saying to yourself, or can you say to yourself, I love you, and things like that.
Yes, I think it's a good idea to do that. The challenge with just doing that is equivalent to just doing affirmations. And if if we don't really believe the affirmations on a deep subconscious level, what tends to happen is that the affirmations are ineffective because our self-belief, or the beliefs we have, are in conflict with the affirmations and we don't believe them.
That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because I know there's a lot of people out there trying to do affirmations and they're saying, well, why isn't it shifting anything?
Yes, that's right. So if we want a long-term change in our self-talk, it's very important to identify what it is on a subconscious level and deal with it permanently.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then affirmations will be great.
That's right, then you can build on that.
Absolutely.
And then once you've worked on yourself, then that's the time to be looking for a relationship.
And also people that are currently in a relationship, I think it's good to work on yourself while you're in a relationship, because one of the reasons to be in a relationship, I believe, is to grow yourself as a person.
Yes.
Because your partner has a lot to teach you if you're open to it.
That's really great advice. Well, thank you so much for coming in, Vesna.
Very welcome.
Now, all the details are on our website and we can click through to a link on your website.